Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back into another episode of Jake's Takes. I am your host, Jake Masucci, and today I am super excited for another edition of the show. Today, we're talking NFL football. We're going to close the season. I first start out, I'm going to rank the top 10 quarterbacks that I thought I saw from this year, kind of updating my rankings from the last year. We go right through it about 10 minutes. And then after that, we're going to get a little season recap with my guy, Liam Flynn. Super excited for this episode. I'm super excited to have him on. It's been a long time coming. This has been my best friend since grade school, and he's been a really, really big part of my life. So I'm really happy to have him on and be able to talk some ball with him. Just like we did like every day in grade school. Literally, we would walk home together. We lived like right down the street together, and all we would do is talk football, basketball, whatever sport we can. So, I mean, it's been a long time coming, and I needed to have him on the podcast. So, without further ado, let's get this pod started. I'm going to cue the music. All right, welcome back into the show, and let's get right into it. We're going to start with our intro. I'm going to list my top 10 quarterbacks for the year 24-25. I mean, flat out crazy year. I love doing this little ranking after each year, kind of just centering on these quarterbacks and talking about them, talking about their season a little bit. We got Liam coming on in a second to talk about NFL off season and NFL season, just kind of the recap of it all. So I kind of wanted to get this top 10 quarterbacks list out in the air. So let's talk about it. Number one, I think is pretty clear. Like, you can't really move him for now. It's Patrick Mahomes at one. I mean, he was sensational this year again. I mean, he was seventh in the league in passing yards. It wasn't his best regular season when it comes to touchdown interception ratio. Like, the interceptions have gone up for him the past 2 years. I think I saw a stat a couple of years ago where he was like number one in interception luck rate. Now that luck's kind of falling off and he's throwing a little bit more picks. But like we talked about in an earlier episode, or if not an earlier episode, I've talked about it off air a lot, is that sometimes it's a good thing to throw interceptions. It means you're being aggressive. It means you're trying to get it down the field. Like when you're looking at a guy like Caleb Williams, when he had that streak where he wasn't throwing interceptions, it was terrible for him, right? But and that's because he wasn't trying to get the ball down the field, and the Bears weren't moving the ball, and they were losing a lot of the games where Caleb wasn't throwing interceptions. And in that case, he plays with fear. Like, he plays with fear of throwing the ball down the field, and it turns him into a worse quarterback. And, for stuff like that, like, as a NFL coach and as a football coach, you kind of want them to try to make a decision where maybe it could be picked, but maybe not. And that's just trying to get the deep ball involved and things of that nature. So, I mean, Mahomes is the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. He's unreal. But we talked about it in the Super Bowl. Like, he just did not show up to play in that Super Bowl. I think it's pretty clear that that kind of taints him right now when you're looking at him compared to Brady, for sure. But Mahomes to me is clearly number one, and you can't have anybody else ahead of him right now. Okay, number two, we got Josh Allen. Josh Allen was incredible this year, really incredible. It was unreal how he just kind of like, I mean, he protected the ball a lot better than he normally does. But the fact of the matter is like they went towards more of a run style, and he was just incredible with his decision making. Like, you saw plenty of times where he'd want to go make the big play, but instead he'd decide to do something different. He was unreal this year. I think he was clearly the best quarterback in the league and kind of deserved MVP. I think it was really, really close between him and Lamar. I would have voted him MVP just barely. I'm just really impressed with how he took care of the football this year, and I thought he played out of his mind. They were a very, very good team this year. They had a great O-line, and they used it to their advantage. He didn't have many weapons, but he still created great plays. To me, he's clearly second. He just can't get over the hump of the Chiefs right now, and I don't think a lot of people in the AFC can. I mean, the Chiefs have made the Super Bowl every year I've done Jake's Takes. It's kind of crazy, the standard to try to get over them. Number three, another AFC quarterback, we got Lamar Jackson. Lamar was sixth in the NFL in passing yards, and his touchdown to interception ratio was ridiculous, 41-4. Like, that's just ridiculous. And he was sensational throughout the whole year. His running was unreal. Like, there's a reason I'm putting him at 3 and not Burrow, and it's because I really feel like that Lamar Jackson got a lot better as a player. But I mean, to say some things like I feel like he does have a little bit of a fumble problem, and I would like to see him be a little better in the big moments. He struggled in those big moments. I feel like this Ravens team was talented enough to make the Super Bowl this year, and they didn't. So, there's playoff woes with Lamar, but he's just incredible. He is really sensational. And I think like if he ends up beating Josh Allen in that game and they make the AFC Championship and maybe lose to the Chiefs in a really, really close game, I think they could have beaten the Chiefs. But if they lost to the Chiefs in a really close game, you're ranking Lamar too. And even if they probably beat the Chiefs, I'm still ranking Lamar too. And out of respect I have for Mahomes. But Lamar, sensational year. I mean, I think he's clearly 3 here. Then 4, we got Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow with another awesome year. He didn't have much help going into this year and was just ridiculous. He was first in the league in passing yards, 4,918, 43 touchdowns to 9 interception ratio, which is really incredible. Yeah, he was awesome. He just didn't have a lot of time to throw, kind of like the normal we've seen from Burrow. He just doesn't really have that much help. I saw in the news that he's trying to restructure his contract to try to make some help come to him. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But he had another awesome year. The Bengals just one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and yeah, if you're looking at Burrow, like the decision making is just incredible from him. I really think he's been awesome. If they invest in an O line, and I think if they build a little more through the run game, like the Bengals are just gonna be a Super Bowl team. Like there's a reason Burrow made the Super Bowl those few years ago. He's an incredible quarterback. All right, looking at 5, I'm still very high on Justin Herbert, and I have Justin Herbert here. I don't know why. I mean, he had a terrible playoff game. To me, it's just the talent level. He's just an incredible quarterback, and I think I've fallen in love too much with the eye test here. He was good this year. I mean, he was solid, 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They went more towards a run style of offense and won more games. Yeah, I mean, I'm putting Herbert here. I'm not crazy confident that he should be there. Um, to me, it's just eye test. I think this is a big year for Herbert, in my opinion of him. If he can really show up and be that guy and lead the Chargers to finally getting a playoff win, it'd be huge for everybody like looking at Herbert. But I think this is definitely a prove it year for Herbert. I'm keeping him at 5 just because of the talent level, just because of like what he can do. But this is a big year for him. He's really got to step up. They had a middle of the pack O line this year. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world. So looking at Joe Alt and looking at Slater, like I think they'll be a little better, but it'll be interesting there. Okay, 6-7 was a really interesting decision making process for me. I went Stroud over Daniels, and again, I'm not really that confident in it, but my opinion on it was both of them have 2 playoff wins now. They both had unbelievable rookie seasons. I think Jaden Daniels had the better rookie season. To me, the Texans have a bottom 3 O line, and Stroud just carried that team the best he could. His stats were not the greatest. He was at 3,727 passing yards, 20 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. It wasn't great, but as you could tell from that Chiefs game, he had no time to throw throughout the whole year. If his first option was there, it was really hard for him to move up to the pocket and try to find a second option before he was out of time. And, like he wasn't the greatest. And I think we expected a little more from the Texans. But the fact of the matter is in the playoffs, they lost to the 1 seed Ravens and the 1 seed Chiefs. The Chiefs made the Super Bowl. The Ravens choked that game to not make the Super Bowl. Probably should have been a Super Bowl team last year, that is. So I'm looking at it that way, like those 2 losses are losses like you should have. And then he's got 2 wins in the playoffs. So to me, I mean, I'm impressed with what CJ Stroud did this year. He got the win over Herbert this year as well. So looking at it that way, that's part of the reason I put Stroud there. 7, Daniels. Daniels was unreal. 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Like I said, the best rookie season I've ever seen. Like it was just sensational. So looking at it that way, I think part of me was the bias of that I can't rank rookie quarterbacks crazy high. I just can't do that. I ranked Stroud pretty high last year, but like I I don't know. I don't know. Like Daniels was unreal. It was unreal. The fact that they made the NFC Championship game is crazy. I think it rubs me the wrong way a little bit that he beat the Lions, and that might be why I'm ranking him 7th. Maybe it's biased. I don't know. But Yeah, he was incredible this year. The fact that they made the NFC Championship unreal, and even though the Eagles kind of killed him, he played great. He played unbelievable. He's making the right reads. He's creating things for their team, and it's just really, really impressive to me. His ceiling is super high, and he's going to continue to get better. So very, very high on Daniels. I'm ranking him 7 right now. Number 8, I got Jalen Hurts coming off that Super Bowl, was unreal in the playoffs. He did not have the best regular season stats. He was 20th in the NFL in passing yards. He had an 18 touchdown to 5 interception ratio. Um, I mean, like just a ridiculous playoff run, first of all. But the only thing that's putting him 8th, even though they just won the Super Bowl, is the fact that he was just so inconsistent before that. There was just the inconsistencies in the regular season. And that's the reason I'm ranking him 8th. And he has the best supporting system in the NFL by far. To me, like it's like, okay, I expect a little more from you, especially a guy that was an MVP candidate. Just the numbers were down, and I was like, okay, like I could see more from this guy. He could definitely do something. So that's part of the reason I got him 8. Okay, 9, we're going Matthew Stafford. Stafford was unreal near the end of the year. He had 3,762 passing yards. That ranks him 13th. His touchdown to his interception was 20-8. And he didn't have many receivers all year. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were both dealing with injuries. Trust me, I had them on my fantasy team. It was killer. But the fact of the matter is they were still finding ways to do stuff. They were struggling until Puka came back and Cooper Kupp came back. And right as they came back, I was like, okay, this team is legit when they have these two. And they really turned it on. That defense was actually pretty impressive. They were middle of the pack, and Jared Verse was unreal on the defensive side. Sean McVay with another masterful coaching job, and they got a playoff win and lost to the eventual Super Bowl champs. So to me, Stafford, really, really impressive. I'm still ranking him 9. I mean, he's incredible. And then 10, we got Jared Goff. As a Lions fan, it was very tough game and tough season to end it on because we were unreal 15-2, the 1 seed. Goff was second in the league in passing yards with 4,692 passing yards and a 37-12 touchdown interception ratio. He was incredible. He was awesome. But looking at it, like it was a really, really impressive year, and Ben Johnson was putting stuff in the right spots. And I mean, it's the same argument I got with Hurts. Like he has all the pieces, and then like if you're down in a game, like he can't get you back in the game. And to me, that's the difference. Like there's guys that can get you back in the game, like Jalen Hurts can get you back in the game with his running. Matthew Stafford's incredible with his late game drives to win you the game. Jaden Daniels can get you back in the game with his running and his passing. CJ Stroud, same way. Justin Herbert, same way. Joe Burrow. All these guys beforehand can get you back in the game. And that's the thing with Jared Goff is like he can try, but everything has to work perfectly. He's got to get defensive stops. He's got to make plays. The other 9 quarterbacks I listed could probably beat you in a shootout. Jared Goff is the only one like I'm not sure of. And that's what I talked about when we talked about Lions is the fact that, like I don't think Jared Goff can win a shootout for us. I don't think he's there. And like if we get down 14, like can he make that comeback when we're not getting defensive stops? It's a difficult ask, and a lot of people can't do it. But to me, like Goff's still a top 10 quarterback. He's still unreal. As a Lions fan, I still want him. I love him because it's hard to get these other 9 guys that are just that good. So to me, Jared Goff, unbelievable season, but it doesn't put him as at tier 1 of quarterbacks or even tier 2 of quarterbacks. All right, let's get to Liam.
All right. Welcome back into the show. And I am super excited to be joined by my guy, Liam Flynn. Super excited to have him with me here virtually, but it feels like he's in the building. It feels like I'm with him. And Liam, I'm super excited to have you, man. I'm pumped that you're here.
I'm super excited to be on. We've been talking ball for years. It's about time we got it recorded.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Liam's been my best friend since like childhood, man. Yeah, and we had to get it on. We had to start talking. Yeah, I'm super pumped. Let's get right into it here. So, Liam, we're both Detroit Lions fans, right? You're at Alabama University. I'm sure you're spreading that Detroit Lions hype. You're on that hype train. It was a terrible loss for us in the playoffs.
That was brutal. That was probably the worst night in recent memory when we got smoked. When we getting like, yeah, that was a bad night. I did not. That was a bad week. I did not take that loss well because all year I was hyping up the Lions. We had an amazing regular season. I was talking so much to all my friends, like, "Oh, we're winning the Super Bowl. It's in the bag, dude. This is our year, finally." And then first round of the playoffs that we play in, just
yeah. No, it was brutal, man. Like I remember watching it, having it on, and like right when our cornerback Amik Robertson goes down at the beginning of the game, I'm just like, man, this could be a long game. This might be rough,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
so
funny you
here's
say that I'm spreading it around at Alabama because my roommate right now, he grew up like in LA, didn't have a team until the Chargers and Rams moved in a few years ago. But he said he didn't want to become a Rams fan because their first year in LA, they won a Super Bowl or whatever. So he felt like a bandwagon. And so since we watched every game together last year, every game together this year, like he could feel my passion. He's a Lions fan.
That's awesome.
And then also, speaking of the playoff game, I was at work and I just sat down in front of one of the TVs because I work at a bar. And my bosses, they didn't expect me to do anything while the game was on. If they ever wanted me to like move something or take care of something, they were like, "Yo, after this drive, like next commercial break, can you go put these cups upstairs?"
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. And then still to this day, they, give me some, they talk a little smack about the Lions losing because they know how hard I took it.
Man, that's tough. That is tough. It's brutal when people are like talking smack to you.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I got a couple teammates on the team that are like Packers fans that grew up in Green Bay. So those guys, like right after, like they just had the biggest smile on their face, and like I knew what they were thinking. They knew what I was thinking. I was just like, yeah, don't talk to me today.
Don't need it from you. Don't need it from you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, centering on the game a little bit, I have a question to a lot of Lions fans about like what your reaction was to the loss and what you think we could like improve on like going into next year, right? So we lose both of our coordinators, and now we're sitting here. It was a disappointing loss. But my question to you is, do you think we lost more because of our defense getting injured or more because of Jared Goff not stepping up to the standard and like getting us through anyway?
Obviously it's a little mix of both, but I do think it's mostly the defense. Like you can't control injuries, you can't game plan for injuries. The fact that we had like such a skeleton of a defensive roster, Hutch going down is the big one. Like that just happened over the accumulation of the entire regular season. Like you can't control that. And so that's just the bad luck of the NFL. And then Goff not stepping up. Yeah, he had some crucial turnovers. He had a couple bad picks. But like our offense still put up 30 something points. It's not bad. That's about on average for how our offense did all year long. So the fact that like you can't putting up 30 points in a loss, like you can't pin all of that on the offense, especially not the quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Like I was on the same page with you. Like I thought right when Robinson went down, we were done. And that's because like of the fact that Daniels was throwing unbelievable balls like throughout the whole game, and I was just like, man, if our defense isn't going to stop them a little bit, like I love Goff. I think he's awesome. Before we got on, I did my intro and I ranked him 10th best quarterback in the NFL. And that's really, really good. You're in the top 10 in quarterbacks. But the thing is that I kind of talked about is like, okay, there's like a tier 1 and a tier 2. Goff's like close, but he's not even on that tier 2 level, like he's high tier 3. He's a guy that he's like above average. He's what you want, but like there's so many other guys that could get you like back in the game.
Yeah. I think he's the right guy for the system. He's an amazing game manager. He's exactly who we needed him to be to lead us to an NFC championship last year and a 15-2 regular season this year. But I don't think he's a game changer. I've been saying this all year. Well, not all year, but like I've been saying this. I think every throw that Jared Goff makes, Hendon Hooker could also make. But I mean, I saw Hendon Hooker when he played against Alabama in college, and there's some throws that he can make that I don't think Jared Goff can make. And that's just our own backup. So obviously, for other QBs in the league, like Jared Goff is an amazing system QB, but I just don't think that he's an amazing like elite arm talent in the league.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that 100%. Hendon Hooker, I'm not the biggest fan of, and
Yeah.
that's just me. I've watched him play, and yes, he's looked good in the preseason and things like that. But Tennessee quarterbacks in the past have just not really worked out, right? Like we saw Joe Milton go from Michigan and look like trash, and then he got to Tennessee and he looked awesome because Josh Heupel's system makes you look so good. He just highlights everything about you, right?
Yeah, I mean
And
that same thing with. I think that's the same as the Jared or as the Ben Johnson effect.
yeah, yeah,
Like I think Ben Johnson made Jared Goff look a lot better than he was.
yeah. No,
That's just the example I would use, for our own team because like I'm not necessarily high on Hendon Hooker. He's pretty old for a
yeah,
second year backup QB and
yeah,
everything, but that's just he's the local like comparison.
yeah. No,
That's why
and
I
that's
say that.
completely fair. Yeah, that's
In terms of
completely
Tennessee
fair.
QBs, that dude Peyton Manning wasn't too bad.
Yeah, yeah, that's going a little too far back for me. I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
watching him in college, so but yeah, he wasn't bad at all. He wasn't bad at all. Dude, Alabama's been having it rough with Tennessee recently, like
yeah.
losing this year, and
Yeah,
yeah,
one loss in the Saban era, and it just had to be when I was a freshman. And then yeah, going on the road, going to Neyland. I mean, going to any stadium away game in the SEC is tough, but especially when
mhm,
you're first year, uh, DeBoer, like in his first year going to Neyland,
yeah,
it was disappointing for sure. Like I don't know,
yeah.
it's tough to go, especially with how much they hate Alabama. They hate us so bad that like I can only imagine the pressure that the team was under.
Yeah, and that Tennessee team, I mean, they were a playoff team. They were a really, really good team this year. So, and not much you can do there. And I'm watching their dude, the basketball in the SEC right now is just ridiculous right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. But getting back to NFL, okay? Uh the Lions, let's look at them next year. Okay, I want to ask you the question about like where you see them next year. So we lose Ben Johnson, we lose Aaron Glenn. Okay, do you think losing these coordinators? I mean, probably going to make us worse. Blah blah blah. But do you expect us to be like a crazy amount worse, or do you expect us to be still near the top of the NFC?
Yeah, I think we'll be a wild card team. Like I don't think we're still definitely going to be a playoff team, but I don't. We're not going to be the same as we were like number one seed, winning the NFC North handedly. Like, well, I guess not handedly. We did come down to the last game.
Yeah,
Um, like I don't think we're going to be on the same level as we were last year, but I do think that we're going to be above average, probably 10-7, 11-6. You know, I think that Ben Johnson leaving is going to be the bigger loss, like because our offense was so explosive this year that
mhm,
like they say the best defense is a good offense, and so
yeah,
that's what took us as far as it did in the regular season. And I think that he just knows the game so well that, especially him going to the Bears, a team we're going to have to play 2 years, is going to make it tough to bounce back. You know,
yeah,
and I think Aaron Glenn leaving, like he definitely we're pretty good defense, especially considering what we had
mhm,
in terms of injuries. We're kind of diminished, but I think that the biggest loss is going to be on the offensive side of the ball, and I just my hopes aren't as high for next year. I think that we're going to be still above average, still a playoff team, but I'm not sure that we're going to be the same beast we were this year. We aren't going to be juggernauts.
yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Like losing the coordinators is always a tough blow. I mean, we saw what it did to the Eagles in the past, right? Like the Eagles went from the 1 seed to the 5 seed and then lost in the first round, right? I don't think it's going to be that drastic for the Lions. I still think we're the favorites in the NFC North. Like I really do. I think we have the fifth best Super Bowl odds right now to win it next year.
Vegas knows
So
everything, so
yeah, well, I mean,
They know. They certainly know more than you and I.
They definitely do. They definitely do. So, I mean, and I talked about it on my last episode when I was reacting to Super Air. No, it was the one before that. But I said with the Lions, I think Ben Johnson leaving isn't too bad just because of the fact that Dan Campbell actually is the guy that brought Ben Johnson in. Ben Johnson's not from another tree. Like Ben Johnson's not from the Kyle Shanahan tree or anything like that. Like Ben Johnson is from the Dan Campbell tree.
Yeah.
And the Dan Campbell tree stems from Sean Payton. And we went over and got our new offensive coordinator is the Broncos passing game coordinator. So I don't think our offense is going to drop off as much as people think. I think Ben Johnson did an unbelievable job and setting the stage. I am concerned with the point that you brought up with him being with the Bears and him understanding that system and being able to slow it down. I am a little concerned about that. I don't know if they have the personnel to like kind of make it happen, but I think it'll be interesting there. I don't see us being 15-2. I think that was just a crazy fluky kind of we're playing every game indoors kind of situation. You know,
Yeah.
I think the stat was
we had
played
a pretty,
like 13 games indoors, which is crazy.
Yeah. We had a pretty soft schedule this year. Like outside of our conference games, our schedule wasn't too tough. And I looked, the schedule coming up next year is going to be brutal.
Yeah.
And so I think our record might not be as good, but we're definitely going to be more battle tested. So when it does come time for playoffs, there's a lot less pillow fights in the regular season. So we can actually, we know what it's like to face a playoff team, which we didn't see too many this year.
Yeah. No, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, that's perfect. Like we're going to be battle tested, and that's how you win playoff games. Like 2 years ago, or however you want to say it, when we made the NFC Championship, we were battle tested, right? Like we were able to win those games and be able to take that next step. I think the only team that really scares me is if the Eagles bring everybody back because they're just unreal. Like there's talent all over the place. But I don't think anybody else scares me. Does anybody else scare you if going into next year?
I mean, only in terms of the NFC North, the Packers, they're probably going to be, I think, because just they've been year over year getting better. Caleb Love is looking good. I think that like they're the in-division team that I'm worried about, but no, I don't think there's no one that really sticks out to me. Yeah, that seems like a real threat in the NFC.
It's fair. It's completely fair. All right, so let's jump through some NFL stuff. We're going to do a little season recap, kind of talking about it. Super Bowl, okay? Your reaction, Eagles dominate the Chiefs, all right? Were you expecting that at all, or?
I don't think anyone in America was expecting that.
Yeah.
The way that the Eagles came out so strong, and they just, like, their defense snuffed the Chiefs in something like that. I've never seen the Chiefs offense, like, in a big game get just controlled like that in the past, like in this era, in this like dynasty that they have. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what the Eagles figured out, but they did. They got their offense working. They had the run game. Jalen Hurts was doing a good job running the ball. Saquon, obviously a beast. They found the chinks in the armor and they exploited them, and that's what led to the game, the massive victory.
Yeah. No, it was actually wild to watch. Like I was kind of shell shocked, like watching that first half and just watching the Chiefs have no answers. Like they couldn't get off the ball. Like Mahomes would try to create a play, he'd try to step up, and then right away he'd just get hit.
Yeah.
He was
doing a good job scrambling. I was telling someone I was watching it with, I was like, dude, he looks like a Johnny Manziel highlight tape right now.
Yeah.
Like, he was getting out of the pocket, and he had good mobility. He just couldn't extend the play downfield.
Yeah.
Like, he couldn't get the ball into a receiver's hands properly.
Yeah.
So it was very impressive from the Eagles. It was, shell shock is a good word. It felt surreal watching it. I was like, that. No way in a million years is that what I would have expected the game to look like.
Yeah. Yeah. You were a big Brady guy, right? So are you like threatened by this Chiefs dynasty or no?
I mean, I kind of just liked him because, he went to Michigan, grew up a Michigan fan.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone's touching his legacy. I mean, 7 Super Bowls, that's like that's unattainable. That's like Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points in a game. Like I don't think anyone that's in the NFL right now is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that was, some of the jokes that I was making, people around me were making, like, oh, if they set up a 30-point comeback, then do you think Mahomes tops Brady in the GOAT conversation because of his 25-point comeback, in a quarter and a half?
Yeah.
But I think even if he did mount a 31-point comeback or whatever in the second half, I would still put Brady ahead of Mahomes.
Yeah. No, and I think that's fair. Like I was talking about it beforehand, kind of thinking that like if the Chiefs win, I feel like the only thing you could say is like, okay, you can have the argument now. Like it's okay to have the argument.
Yeah.
But like I was still gonna put Brady ahead, and I'm a big Mahomes guy, and I was still gonna put Brady ahead by like a landslide, and it would take like 2 more Super Bowls for me to say, okay, Mahomes is better, you know. But the three-peat just would have given him so much more of an edge. But
Yeah, that's
kind of
true.
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that Brady and his like leadership and the dude like everyone talks about how he's just a psycho about winning. So he's like
Yeah.
Michael Jordan level obsessed with winning. And I think that no one else is probably going to top him unless they do like follow in his footsteps of taking a pay cut so that you can elevate the team around you. And I think Mahomes with his massive contract, I don't think because when he signed it, they were good for the couple years after. Then they restructured a bunch of people's deals, and that's how they were able to get 2 in a row, make a third appearance. But I think now is when the chickens are coming home to roost contract wise, and they just don't have the money to buy him receivers or linemen or like whatever he needs to defense, like the tools that he needs to win 7 Super Bowls like Tom Brady did.
Yeah. No, I think you're dead on. I mean, the Chiefs are kind of getting older and falling apart, like especially that O line, as you could see, like it just wasn't playing to the high enough standard that it needed to in that kind of game.
And it was the same thing. I can't remember, but when Brady beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, I don't know. I don't remember if that was injuries or if that was just because their O line was like not as.
Yeah, that was injuries.
That was
they
injuries.
Had a
That's what I
couple.
thought.
Yeah, they had a couple of linemen injured, and
But I just remember in that Super Bowl too.
Was incredible.
Yeah, that Tampa Bay defense was insane. But I just remember that, like, the O line was struggling in that game. That's what helped the Bucs beat the Chiefs, and that's what helped Brady beat Mahomes. But I think I think to me Tom Brady's a GOAT.
Yeah,
and it's almost insurmountable.
Yeah, no, I think you're dead on there, and it makes it definitely tougher for Mahomes right now, to keep up for sure. So moving on. So just as a casual NFL fan, you're more of a Lions fan. So I wanted to center on that one. But as you were watching just on a Sunday, if you were to flip on, right, and the Lions aren't on, was there one team that you were like, man, I like watching them play like throughout the season?
Yeah. I think probably the Ravens.
Okay.
The Ravens they're another explosive offense like the Lions. Lamar Jackson is just an insane playmaker. The way he can throw and run and just do everything, it seems like. And then he also had weapons. He had Zay Flowers, like they just, to me, they were one of the more exciting teams to watch. Like you're right. I'm more casual for teams that aren't the Lions. I kind of just watch highlight reels and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I see the Ravens a lot and they were, just because they had so many tools in their offense.
Yeah. Yeah. Like historically on the show, I haven't been the biggest Lamar Jackson supporter, but he has just gotten better and better like every single year. And it's been really, really impressive for me. Like I just ranked him before the show I think I had him 4 last year. Now I have him 3 over Burrow in the top 10 ranking for me. And he just keeps getting better. Like he threw 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this year. I think he probably should have won the MVP near the end of the year. He just played a lot better than Josh Allen and the Ravens.
Also, I feel like I remember looking at like their side by side stat comparisons, and his stats were better too.
Yeah, no, the stats aren't even close, because the Bills went more run game, which kind of hurts Josh Allen in the stat wise. But I mean, that it just turns into kind of a popularity contest. That's kind of what the MVP's turned into. Like Jokic won't win in the MVP this year, even though he probably should, but it's just because they don't want to give 3 times to the same player.
Yeah,
You know?
voter fatigue is definitely a big thing. But
Exactly.
yeah, I like like you said, how Lamar just keeps getting better every year because in his first MVP year and when he started, climbing the ranks as a NFL QB, people were saying, "Oh, he's just a running back," all
Yeah.
this stuff. But he's, beat those allegations. Like he has improved his passing game immensely.
Hmm. Yeah. No, and the thing that's impressive is like just the winning percentage is just out of control. You know, he wins like all of his regular season games. It's actually like wild. I've never seen a percentage like that. The only thing I want from him is to show up in the playoffs now. Like
Yeah,
that's the only thing he's got to do. And he's had some wins, but they're games like they're supposed to win, right? So you're looking at it now, and it's just like, all right, like, can you take the next step? Can you win a game where maybe other people will pick the other team? Like for me, what I thought with the Ravens the last 2 years, okay, they were better than the Chiefs when they had the home game against them and they still lost that game. And then they were better than the Bills this year, even though they were on the road in Buffalo. And they lost both of those games. So to me, that hurts. That kills you. You know, like that's why it's an argument between him and Burrow hasn't made the playoffs the past 2 years. And it's just because Burrow, when he made the playoffs, took advantage and made the Super Bowl, right? And then when it's Lamar Jackson, he hasn't. You know, I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's gotten so much better as a thrower, especially. Like his deep ball is really accurate and he's creating great plays. But to me, like, I just hope he can figure out the playoff thing and maybe somebody can top Mahomes next year, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the same breath, like the way that Josh Allen has responded to criticism as well. Because I remember in the offseason seeing some ESPN segment about like, oh, is Josh Allen really elite? Like he throws too many
Mhm.
picks, like all this stuff. And this year he came back and he cleaned it up. He stopped throwing as many picks and looked what happened. The team was amazing. He won the MVP. I mean, like, so I think if it's going to be anyone to beat the Chiefs, it probably will be the Bills, just because Josh Allen is such a dog.
I like that. I like that take. I mean, the Bills were so close this year. So close. Like, it just seems like the Chiefs kind of have their number right now and are just in their head. You know, like, it's kind of like the old NBA things that we'd see. Like, the Pistons had to get over the Celtics and then the Bulls had to get over the Pistons. You know, it feels like that kind of, right? Which is kind of cool that it's in the NFL now and we're kind of growing up on it,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah, we've
think
been
it's
telling our
interesting.
kids about the Chiefs Bills rivalries.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we might be. We might be. That might be that Celtics Pistons rivalry or whatever. We just need the Lions to start
Yeah, we just
having a
need the
rivalry.
Lions. Yeah. I hope it turns into Lions, Eagles,
Yeah,
us coming out on top.
that would be awesome. That would be awesome. That's what I'm hoping for. All right. Last question before I get you out of here. But I want to talk about just some players. Okay. 3 players that stood out to you this season. For me, if I had to list 3 players, and I did a lot of like draft stuff, and these are 2 guys I was very low on. I did not like them as much. But Bo Nix at the quarterback position on the Broncos really, really impressed me this year. I thought he was just going to be very average, like not that good. Broncos were a playoff team, and Sean Payton knows exactly what he's doing. He's just a
Yeah.
stud coach, and
Yeah,
they
I
were
wasn't
great.
expecting much out of Bo Nix either, to be completely honest. But
Yeah,
yeah, he definitely surprised me taking taking that Broncos team to the
I
playoffs.
know. I know. It was
Last year they
impressive.
were not so hot.
Yeah, last year they were pretty bad. So that was just super impressive to me. And then my other 2, Malik Neighbors, I thought he was really good coming out. I didn't think he was this good. This guy is just a monster. I mean, taking fantasy teams at the beginning of the year by storm. I mean, he was incredible. I wish the Giants were better, and I wish they were actually good television because I would have watched him way more because he's unreal. And then the Vikings defense. Like I think that was the reason that they were 14-3 this year. because of what Brian Flores did with that defense. Like, they were incredible throughout the whole year. A disappointing loss to the Rams, but overall, I think the Vikings are, if they keep Flores, I think they're scary moving on to next year, no matter who their quarterback is, if it's Darnold or if it's JJ McCarthy. What do you think about the Vikings defense this year?
I think, yeah, they exceeded expectations. I mean, I think their season win total at the beginning of the year was, Vegas had like 6.5.
Yep. Yep.
And the fact that they went 14-3 is in large part because of their defense. The way that they stepped up was, yeah, you're right. It's something I didn't see. It's worthy of being on the list of, exceeding expectations.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So what do you got? What do you got that stood out to you from this season?
I mean, this is a big one, but Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, he was an elite RB. Everyone knew that. Like, I would have told you that last season. I would have told you that since he's been drafted. But the way that he moved, like, made the transition to the Eagles and stepped up and had a historic year was impressive. That was fun to watch. It was good to see that. And, because moving from the Giants to Eagles in division rivalry, that whole thing, like, all the Giants fans were pissed. It was good to see him finally. It kind of seemed like he finally came into his own. Like, he just stepped up and started performing in a way that we all knew he could.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's a stud. He's a stud. I mean, it was so much fun watching him. The backwards hurdle. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that play, just ridiculous.
Yeah. Insane. That play alone is one of, like, probably the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. Wild. All right. What else you got?
I think I'm going to have to give the nod to Josh Allen. I mean, another big name. But the way that he stepped up and, like I said, mostly because of the way he faced the criticism and he grew. He had an amazing year this year. And I think, he led that Bills team, even though they lost Stephon Diggs, he still proved that it wasn't just Stephon, like it was him, and that he just had just an incredible year. It was fun to watch again. I don't know. It's just, yeah, he's a great player.
Yeah. No, I think a perfect example of what you're talking about from the season was in the divisional game against the Ravens, where I think it was the semifinal one. But when they had like a fourth and goal and they were doing a QB sneak, right? And it didn't look like he was going to get in. And you could see like his eyes instinctively look to pitch the ball behind him, like to the running back, like look to pitch. And last year, Josh Allen, like the year before, probably would have pitched that ball and it would have ended up being a fumble and it would have been recovered by the defense. And it would have been a turnover. This year, like he went to do it and then he tucked it and got pushed by one of his O linemen and he ended up in the end zone. Like it's just like some of those plays where it's just like that just shows you that the quarterback.
Those are the difference makers. Those are like the way that he took it upon himself was like, all right, I need to lead this team, and he did. He stepped up. He did an amazing job this year. Couldn't get all the way, but I think there's definitely much more to come from this Bills team.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. You got one more for me?
Yeah, I think it'd have to be the Lions running back room. Both,
love it.
Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They just, the way that, like, they're a 1-2 punch this year, like, they're the perfect dichotomy of speed back and power back.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, Sonic and Knuckles. Like, teams just didn't have an answer. Like, it's like nearly impossible to game plan. And like something I heard is that they would give them the exact same run, but the thing is their difference in running style is what would make is why it looks so different, because they were, they're just two different athletes, have their own different strengths that they like, I don't know, they're just electric. It was awesome to watch. Like, I guess it's kind of boring to say that a running team, doing that well. But the thing is, when the team runs that well, sure, it's like old school football, but like, it's just
It's fun to watch. I mean,
It's
like,
so much fun to watch.
I don't care what anybody says. I
Yeah.
mean, like the
Deep
Lions.
balls to JMO are sick, but
Exactly. Like the
when you
Lions are
can just
gonna.
hand the ball off to Jameer and he like bounces around the tackle, just
Yep.
pops off like a 30-yard run,
Yep.
and then
And he's an athletic freak. He's
insane.
freak. It's crazy. Like Gibbs near the end of the season was unreal, and then Monty to start the year was just incredible.
Yeah.
You know, it was killer to see him like banged up at the end. You know, like I think that really hurt, and it hurt his value to us.
Definitely.
But I mean, like, gosh, our offense was so much fun. Like we're pulling Penny Sewell around.
Because then when you set that foundation of like, okay, we can run it down your throat, we can run through your face, then that opens up the trick plays, and that is where the exciting football comes in.
Exactly.
And we can't do that if we don't have two beasts that we have in the backfield.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. Well, Liam, this has been a lot of fun. I'm really happy to have you on. But before you go, I want to ask you one more question. Lions next season, do you have a record prediction? Just off top of your head, first thing that comes to your mind.
I mean, I kind of said this earlier, but I said between 10-7 or 11-6. I'm going to go 11-6 because I want to be more hopeful, more optimistic.
Yeah. You should be.
Honestly, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's better than that. See another 12-5 season or better would be nice, but I think this year is going to test Dan Campbell's ball knowledge a lot because he's a vibes guy completely. Like he has the team, the fan base, every NFL fan ready to run through a wall, like with his speeches and everything. Like he's just such a vibes guy that he gets the team fired up. I just don't know how much he actually knows the game, and I think this will be, the test. Obviously, he knows a lot of ball. If you're going to be an NFL head coach, like I'm not trying to sit here and say I know anything better than him, right? But like I'm just saying that it'll put him to the test to see how great of a head coach he really is, and I think if he performs well, we might win the NFC North again. But either way, I'm pretty sure the Lions will be a playoff team. So I'm saying 11-6.
Love it. All right, well, Liam, I really appreciate you coming on the pod, man. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. All right, well, that's going to wrap up the show for today. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, wherever you're at. Go give us those 5 stars on Spotify, like the show on YouTube, and I'll be back at you guys soon. Peace.